Dr. Casey, you were an actress, performer, director, choir director. You had received awards and accolades from celebrities. You really had made it in so many ways. During that period of time, you made a decision to do something about healing the community from trauma. What was going on in your life at that time, and how did the situation in society affect you to make a change?
I am still a professional actress, and I still write and direct and produce. Now, I may not have as much time to do those things as I once did. And you're right, I did put those things on hold when the unrest of Ferguson unfolded here in St. Louis, Missouri. I live actually just 10 minutes away in a car from when that took place. And when it did, I just stopped. I literally stopped. I sat down and had to gather my thoughts. I remember the actual day that it happened. My daughter called me and said, "Mom, where are you?" And I told her, she says, "Well, whatever you do, don't come down West Florissant, which is a main street, when you come back home, because there are cop cars everywhere, ambulance, fire trucks, people all outside." I said, "Well, what in the world is going on?" She says, "Well, I think that a cop shot a Black boy." Mm-hmm. And I said, "What else?" She says, "What do you mean, what else?" I said, "Sweetheart, that happens every day. Turn on the news and tell me why all of the first responders are out. It has to be more than that." I said, "Now, if you told me that he shot the cop, then I would understand. But you're saying the cop shot him? I need to know what else is happening." So when she turned on the news, she gasped. I said, "What's wrong?" She says, "He was shot at 12:03 in the afternoon. I looked at my clock in the car. It was 3:06. She says, "And he's still lying on the ground." What? Now that's where it became totally inhumane. Why is he still on the ground? At that point, it didn't matter to me what the details were, who did what, when, and where. Why are we feeling like it is okay to kill a human being and leave them lying on the ground? All I could think about the trauma of the parents, the mother, seeing her baby with yellow tape around her child, bleeding out on the ground, and she can't get to him. The mental state that it took me to as a mother. I came home and I sat down and I said, "What do I do next? I need to go to where this is happening." And I went to the spot every single day for weeks. I was boots on the ground, front line, doing whatever I thought I could do to lend my voice, to lend my time, to lend my money, my expertise, and whatever it is. I just needed to show up and make myself available. And before you know it, I felt like all that I thought I was and all that I was called to do as an actress performing, it wasn't about any of that, but it was about creating a stage so that people can hear what needed to be said. And I remember artists gathering in the first couple of weeks, and we had over 200 artists in the room. And I remember saying even then, and it's still talked about today, NPR was even in the room, and I made the statement that you all don't understand what those children are going through right now. Mm-hmm. For them to see that happen to Michael Brown, they're thinking in their minds, I might be next. What has been broken down as the respect for for a young person to an officer, and an officer being trusted in the community. I saw that break down like a storm taking down trees. I saw it. And I said, if we don't focus on the trauma and we don't help this community to heal from this collective traumatic experience that we all have witnessed, we're going to be in trouble. 5 years to 10 years from now, you're going to see behaviors that you won't even be able to identify and understand why people are showing up that way, because you have allowed this to happen in our own backyard, and we're turning a blind eye to it. See, it's not about, was the cop wrong? Was Michael Brown wrong? It was about what we did to one another as human beings. That's where we all have gone wrong. And I said it, they heard it, but not everybody got it. Not everybody did enough about it. So that's where God called me forward to do more. Shut it down. It wasn't about me being an actress anymore. And if I was going to be an actress, I needed to use that platform to make sure that I shine the light on Show Me Arts Academy so that I can gather in more children. We service over 3,000 children in the area, teaching them everything about the arts, because the arts is natural medicine to help you heal, to help you to express. So if I gathered a child that needed to talk about what they witnessed and what they saw, how could I teach them to do this through DJ engineering, poetry, music, and dance? And this is what we created, an opportunity for that to happen. Now I was on to something. I knew at that moment, Darlene, like, oh, I done stepped into an area and a space that I didn't expect to be here. And definitely I didn't expect to see what I saw. I saw children healing. I saw communities flourishing, but I needed more help, and I needed more money, and I needed more opportunities. Now that's where it became a little harder to do, because anytime people start to see success, they think that, oh, I can do it too. And so sometimes we muddy the water versus getting out of the way or coming closer and helping that person move it along. We have too many different pockets of people trying to do the same thing. So I ran into a lot of that. So at that point, I said, okay, I am going to gather a specialty group. And I pulled 20 children from 17 different zip codes around the city to gather as a singing group. And I raised money specifically for them to go and lend their voices of change to Washington, D.C., New Jersey, and New York, because those areas was looking on and saw what happened to Ferguson, but they still didn't see our children. They didn't see the need of our children. And I wanted our children to go and express how they were truly feeling through music. They played instruments and they sang and they did poetry and they danced and all over those cities. And that's where the awards started to kind of come in, because others were seeing who we were. We performed in museums, and we performed at the Lincoln Memorial and at Dr. King Memorial. And here I am again, Dr. King. And when I showed up, I was like, here I am again, Dr. King. It's like, I keep following him around. And so I saw that, and I saw these babies just overnight be protected in their mind, body, and spirit, because they were able to express their hurt and pain, but turn it into purpose. And I said, now that's good, but now what about the other children who can't sing or can't dance or don't know that they can? How do I reach them? How do I reach the ones where trauma has already overtaken them? And that's when I created UnGun as a program. And I said, I need to test this program out and see if it can work on a child on the opposite end who hasn't had the support and opportunities and resources. So I went behind the wall of the juvenile detention center, and I worked with 7 boys who were in there for murder. They were there for carjacking and robbing and you name it. drug charges. These 7 boys collectively had a record from here to wherever you are right now. And I said, if what I've created with UnGun can make a difference in them, then I know I'm on to something. Well, within 6 weeks, I knew I was on to something. I saw these young men completely change before my eyes. The judge saw them completely change before her eyes. The parents saw them. The other workers in the detention center saw them. We saw them again as human beings and not just as children who have had traumatic experiences and have acted out with behavior that was beyond our control. Yes, they needed a little bit more of attention. They needed a little bit more time, and they needed some more direction. But ultimately, what they needed was love and someone to say, I still believe in you in spite the choices that you made. Because I knew that those choices were going to be there because we saw what happened in Ferguson. Trauma is transferable, and so is healing. So when that traumatic experience happened to Michael Brown, it transferred into the behavior of other children that looked on. Oh, the next time the police pull me over, before I let them shoot and kill me, oh, I'm gonna act out. I'm gonna run. I'm going to do whatever. But trauma is transferable, and so is healing. So I wanted to approach it from the other end to say, you know what? Yeah, I know where those behaviors are going to lead to because I was one of those children. Right. But I also became an adult that healed. And so I know another route we can take. We can heal and we can help them heal. And that's how UnGun was birthed and developed. It became such a phenomenon, if you will, to everyone who looked on and witnessed it, that I knew it needed to have its own entity. And so then I turned it into a business. So it's UnGun Institute, LLC. And the reason that it's a business and not a nonprofit is because I didn't want to get caught up in that muddy water again of people saying, oh, if she can do this, I can do this, or I'm going to get out there and I'm going to do the same thing. So I set it up more in a business form where I could have a little bit more hands on it and not become competitive, but really step into the spaces only where we are needed, only where people find value and say, we're going to hire you and bring you in to get the work done. And that's how I was able to win a bid for a school institution here in the St. Louis area. And we service in 10 schools. And we're excited about it because now we have an anti-gun violence program that's under the umbrella of UnGun Institute. And we really have been helping children deal with that range of violence that starts from bullying to domestic violence to suicide and gun violence. We deal with the range of the effects of the violence that perpetrate a lot of our communities and our kids.
Well, I am so glad that you decided to do this entrepreneurship, this UnGun Institute in a way that could maximize your use of your gifts. That takes me to your statement that you have, and I want to talk to you about your billboard. Tell people what you came up with that is just really wonderful and actually applies to everybody, right?
Yeah.
Not just young Black men, not just children or youth. It applies to everybody, including police officers, doesn't it, Doctor?
Absolutely. Every single human being that will encounter other human beings. We want you to simply stop, breathe, and think. Stop, breathe, think. If you remember when we were growing up and they said, if ever your body caught on fire, they want you to do what? Stop, drop, and roll, right? It was so simple. Well, there have been a few people that probably had to use that technique, but for the most part, not too many of us have. But we remember, we know what to do if it happens. But no one ever taught us, Darlene, if our brains caught on fire from traumatic experiences in that moment versus reacting What do we do so we can respond correctly? What do we do so we can keep ourselves safe and others around us safe? All I want you to do is just simply stop, breathe, think. Stop, breathe, think before you respond so that you can get the proper trauma response. It's trauma that we're dealing with. Trauma has no face, no place, no race. It doesn't. You never know where it's going to show up, how it's going to show up, who all it will affect. And because we don't know and we can't see it, we have to just be prepared for it. So when it happens, versus just going into freeze mode or flight or fear or any of those things, or what's the other one? Is fight, flight,
Fight,
fight, flight, freeze.
Or freeze.
Freeze, right. Some of us we hold and we stop breathing. No, I need you to take a breath. It's okay. And I don't want you to run. And I definitely don't want you to fight. So when the trauma hits, if you can remember, stop, take a breath, so you're not freezing, and then think. And when you think about what's happening, you will also understand what it is you need to do next. You may have to keep breathing. You may have to breathe for 10 minutes. You may have to breathe for 30 minutes. You may only have to take 2 breaths. Okay, this is what I need to do. But however long you need to breathe so you can get to your proper thoughts of keeping yourself safe and everyone around you safe, trust me, it will make a difference.
Absolutely make a difference. And in this world where we here, especially in America, we don't stop. We just keep going and we don't breathe. I know that, that doesn't seem to make sense, but when you really think about what you say, to just stop for a moment, stop your thoughts, stop moving, and just allow yourself to collect. It's such a powerful thing to stop. And then to, allow yourself to feel that breath.
We're excited about it because we actually do. We get phone calls about it. We've been receiving emails and messages. But this one call, I've received several, but this one in particular just the other day said, I just want to know, how long is the billboard going to be up? And I said, well, it should probably stay up through August. She says, oh my goodness, is there any way we can keep it up all year round? She says, because every day that I drive to work is so hard for me. But every day I drive to work, I pass that billboard. And as soon as I read it and see it, I collect myself and I understand my biggest purpose or why I have to go to work. She says, and it's been the only thing to help me reset. And so you are right. We never know how it's showing up in individuals' life. We were in the schools as we were teaching, and that was part of our Safe Summer campaign, which is the Stop, Breathe, Think. And I had a young man look me up and say, Dr. Marty, I just saw your billboard. And, and that was sweet to see that he remembered us being in his class talking about it. Now he's riding in the community and he's with his family in the car. And he goes, oh my goodness, I remember them. They came to my school. And that's how we tie it all together, because we really need to, I think also as peace ambassadors, we're messengers is really what we are, right? We're positive messengers. We're putting out positive messages, but we have to make sure that they're landing in the right spaces. And for me, how can I connect what's happening in the homes, with the schools, and the community? It's what I call the triangle effect, right? It's the house, and then it's the schools and the community. All 3 points have to actually be touching and for that triangle to form. And in the center of that triangle is the child. When those points are not touching, it leaves room for the child to fall out. At any given point that they're not touching, that child can fall out. If we want to keep that child centered and safe, we need to be touching from the homes to the schools to the community at all times. And that's how we will see a lot of the trauma be disarmed, a lot of the wars be disarmed. Usually wars happen when someone's not feeling safe. When they're not feeling safe, that's usually when a war will take place.
That's true.
Because someone feels like someone's coming in, taking something from me. I no longer feel safe. I have to go to war to protect and to keep this. Someone's breaking into my home. We got to do what we got to do to protect our homes. When someone doesn't feel safe, that's where that war will take place. So we want to keep that child safely in the center. And the way that we do that is that we collect those boundaries, keeping them touching at all times.
Dr. Casey, your day of healing, Black Sunday. And this initiative came from your heart's desire to help mothers who had lost their children to violence, right? And had lost their sons. And during this process of you creating this, you wanted to do a healing day.
Black Sunday. It happens every second Sunday in August, because on the second Sunday in August was when Michael Brown was shot and killed in my city. As a peace ambassador, we must be healed. We must continue to do work from a place of healing, and we must help to heal others. So that was the purpose behind Black Sunday. Because of COVID, we did our very first rollout, if you will, introduction of Black Sunday to the world on Zoom. We had over 50,000 participants.
Whoa.
So imagine if those 50,000 people have been impacted to stop, breathe, and think and do the work, starting with self, and continue to heal and pass that healing on to others around them. That's where the impact comes, and that's where we make the difference. So every year we think of Black Sunday, like, what can we do to offer more healing, more help, more opportunity? You can do anything with creativity, but you don't have to hurt anyone. So that's where I really see the changes come with the youth. For myself, I did a big part of my life has always been being out front. Today, I do a lot of listening. And it's a new skill for me. And I actually like it.
That's a good thing.
I actually like it. I did a lot of talking. Even when I was a baby, my mom said I just talk. I did a lot of talking in the earlier part of my years. But on this latter part, I'm doing a lot of listening. And I think when I put the two together, like, I'm not afraid to take the mic. I'm not afraid to talk. I've practiced that for so many years. I practiced being a performer out front. That part comes easy for me. It's natural. Listening was hard. I think listening was hard for me because when I listened, I heard things I didn't want to hear. I heard my parents argue. I heard things that was happening in my neighborhood I didn't want to hear. I heard gunshots. So I didn't do a lot of listening. But today I can listen. And now I use that skill to really help others be heard. So this is an UnGun towel. We have children actually making these.
You too.
Yes. The 4 principles that UnGun Institute is built on is give, forgive, heal, and live. Give first. Give yourself the opportunity to be better, to feel better, and do better. Forgive yourself and others for anything, any offense that may have happened, intentionally or unintentionally. Be forgiving. Heal from the inside out. Heal people, and then have the opportunity to live your best life.
Thank you.
Wow, the pleasure again is all mine. I believe it's what we do collectively, right? And I am here to be a participant at any time. When we're talking about peace, count me in. Count me in. That's where I want to be.